Is Matt Damon dead?
I hope not. One of my more embarrassing moments, maybe my most embarrassing moment in my life, happened in front of President Clinton. I had to kiss Scarlett Johansson.
I mean, come on.
Can you imagine how horrible that was for me?
Can you imagine how awful that was?
Welcome to Clip Fame, where Hollywood's most genuine moments become unforgettable. As Matt Damon steps into the sweeping world of the Odyssey, we're reminded why he has remained such a lasting presence in Hollywood. Not only because of the major roles he has played, but because of the warmth and personality that come through the moment the character disappears and the real Matt steps forward. Behind all those carefully crafted scenes is a playful Matt Damon who always knows how to make his co-stars laugh. And according to Matt Damon himself, The Odyssey may be one of the biggest movies of his remarkable career.
This is definitely the biggest movie that I've ever done in my career. It feels like we made 6 or 7 movies, and in a sense we did. Every single kind of chapter of this adventure was at a different location that posed a different challenge.
You just know that the locations when you're telling a story like this are going to be.
At 54, Matt Damon takes on the role of Odysseus, the king of Ithaca and the legendary hero struggling to make his way home after the Trojan War, in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. After Interstellar and Oppenheimer, Damon continues to prove that he is one of Nolan's most trusted actors whenever the director needs someone with both the presence and the experience to carry a massive production. And while The Odyssey places Matt Damon at the center of an enormous ancient epic,
can we get somebody to get the horse out of here? Did you do this movie specifically so you could sneak into this room in a Trojan horse?
I did this movie so I could say that horse is a Trojan, which is something your dad should have used on his little wiener instead of having you.
the moment the Trojan Horse shows up on a talk show, he proves that he can also turn a legendary symbol into the perfect setup for some playful trash talk. The Trojan Horse is one of the most famous symbols from the war that sets Odysseus on his difficult journey home in the Odyssey. But once it is rolled onto a talk show stage, it immediately loses all of its epic grandeur and becomes the perfect prop for Matt Damon to cause some trouble.
Fuck, it's terrible. Your dust in your eyes. It must be tough. And
How do you like them apples? I don't like them apples. Well, what are we gonna do? I don't like the sound of them apples. Well, what are we gonna do?
Jackie.
Yeah? I don't like the sound of them apples. Well, what are we gonna do?
What do you do when the person ruining the most takes is Matt Damon? And he is also the first one to start laughing. One mischievous look, one expression he cannot quite hold together, or a few seconds of taking the performance a little too far, and suddenly filming has to stop because nobody in the room can stay serious anymore.
The very first time you saw the Trojan Horse, which as a guy,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we love stuff like that. Everybody loves things like that, but you've heard so much about this in history. When you saw this for the film, and no spoilers today, but when you saw it in person, what was your reaction?
It was overwhelming because I saw it buried in the sand, on the beach. I came over the dunes, and just the size of the production is the first thing that kind of took my breath away. There were thousands of people. It was just, everything. Chris doesn't use green screen. He doesn't use effects in the traditional way that people use them. So if there are 1,000 people in the shot, then there are 1,000 people there. And so the scale of it was just so incredible. And then to see it, having imagined, what they were going to.
Matt Damon has worked on plenty of blockbusters, but even he was genuinely overwhelmed by the scale Christopher Nolan brought to The Odyssey. Watching him light up in front of that enormous wooden horse, you can tell this was more than just another major role. It was the kind of experience that could make even a seasoned movie star react like a lifelong film fan stepping into an epic world for the very first time. Have you ever wondered how a director as precise as Christopher Nolan reacts when someone does the exact opposite of what he asked?
There was a moment where our first assistant director had given some background artists direction that he thought was the direction that Chris wanted, and Chris actually wanted the opposite. And Chris had already spoken to them and given them the opposite direction, but Nilo accidentally went in and gave it. And so in this big set, they were all doing the exact opposite of what Chris wanted. And they said, cut, and Chris said, turn to Nilo, and he said, what happened? And Nilo said, well, sir, I told them to do that. And he goes, I just told them to do the opposite. And he goes, come on, man. He goes, this is hard.
Matt tells the story with that calm, amused expression of his, while Tom Holland and the other guests can barely hold back their laughter. Apparently, even a filmmaker capable of building entire cinematic worlds sometimes has no choice but to stand there and watch his carefully arranged plan slide completely off the rails. And even in the middle of the most intense movie scenes, Matt Damon can still find time to clown around for his co-stars.
Crunch for that entire scene.
Imagine minding your own business, only to hear people seriously discussing whether you are still alive, and then deciding that even if you are, you may already be culturally dead. Instead of rushing to defend his Hollywood status, Matt calmly joins in as though he is helping them edit his own obituary. It is awkward, hilarious, and completely Matt Damon. Before anyone else gets the chance to knock him down, he has already pulled up a chair and sat down there himself.
Is Matt Damon dead?
I hope not.
That's terrible. He's not dead.
Well, maybe culturally speaking. Maybe I'm over. He's so dead.
How would you react if your husband or wife disappeared for 20 years without sending you a single message? This next interview moment has a pretty memorable answer.
Bring this back to 2026 for a moment. And if you had a friend who was waiting 20 years for her man to come back, what would you tell her?
In the modern age?
Gosh.
That's like 2 weeks.
I mean, okay, there's a lot of translating we have to do. Because I'd be like, because Odysseus can't text.
Right, I was gonna say.
If you don't
and he hasn't texted.
I'm just gonna say, if you don't get a text in 20 years, he's maybe not that into you.
Matt does not try to defend himself or explain anything. He immediately bursts out laughing and joins in like an accomplice who is already very familiar with Anne Hathaway's style of teasing. That comfort between them makes it feel as though they could play off each other naturally without having to prepare a thing.
I had to kiss Scarlett Johansson.
I mean, come on.
Can you imagine how horrible that was for me?
Can you imagine how awful that was?
But we did.
It's such a shame
this
she has
was really
such
funny.
terrible lips and everything. It must have been so awful.
It was hell. Okay, first of all,
She had some garlic
she ate like an onion sandwich for
Good
lunch.
for her.
And she came in and Cameron Crowe had set the camera up and it was like a tight shot of the kiss. And she goes, oh shit. She goes,
Kissing Scarlett Johansson in a movie sounds like a dream assignment. Until Matt Damon discovers that an onion sandwich has also joined the scene in the least romantic way possible. He tells the story with an expression that is equal parts wounded and amused, as though Hollywood promised him a glamorous moment and secretly replaced it with a test of endurance. It is the kind of situation you can only laugh off because complaining too much would make the rest of the world ask, what more do you want? While filming The Martian, Matt Damon somehow delivered one of the most unexpected crying scenes imaginable.
How about that?
Matt Damon may have the respect of Hollywood, but the moment he gets home, he still has to face the toughest critic of his entire career, his own daughter.
Daughter's kind of like patently refuses to see any movie that I'm in if she thinks it's going to be good.
Right. Really? Why?
Yeah, she hasn't seen Good Will Hunting. She hasn't seen
What?
Yeah. It's kind of a running joke. Like I did this movie, The Great Wall, which she heard wasn't good, so she went and saw it. and she goes, Dad, and we had friends over for dinner. She was talking about the movie. She kept calling it The Wall. She kept calling it The Wall, and I finally go, look, Isabella, it's called The Great Wall. And she goes, Dad, there is nothing great about that movie.
The rest of the world may have debated The Great Wall, but Isabella did not even bother with a debate. She watched it and casually took down both the movie and her father's pride with one perfectly timed play on words. The funniest part is that Matt does not even try to defend himself. He retells the roast with obvious delight, as though he has long accepted that an Oscar offers absolutely no protection inside the Damon household. That may be one reason he feels so relatable. On screen, he is an A-list star, but at home, he is still just a dad whose daughter reviews his movies without mercy. After decades of appearing on every major talk show imaginable, Matt Damon finally met an audience member who made him so happy that he forgot to maintain his usual A-list composure.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Hugh. I'm from West Sussex.
Hi, you.
Hi. I just like to say that I think Matt Damon is really amazing in the fourth Bourne movie.
By the way, this is the best time I've ever had on the talk.
One sincere compliment from Rebecca made Matt light up as though he had just received another award. And he immediately declared that this was the best time he had ever had on a talk show. What makes the reaction so endearing is how completely unguarded it is. Behind the major roles and movie star image is someone who still genuinely appreciates hearing that an audience member remembers and values his work. Tom Cruise is easily one of the most fearless movie stars in Hollywood, but there is a secret behind the way he gets those unbelievable stunts approved, and Matt Damon revealed it.
I had dinner with Tom Cruise like years ago after he did that thing out of the building. I was in London and we all had dinner together, and so I kind of cornered him and I said, hey, tell me about this. Like, I'm afraid of heights. How did you do this thing? And he goes, so I go to the safety guy. I tell him this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to explain the whole gag to him.
Right.
The safety guy says, you can't do that. He goes, that's too dangerous. And I'm like, and he goes, so I get another safety guy.
Before they conquered Hollywood together, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck nearly ended everything because one acorn flew in the wrong direction. The way they remember it makes the whole incident sound both ridiculous and strangely familiar. Because behind the Oscars and blockbusters are still two childhood friends from Boston who once fooled around so badly that one of them ended up in the hospital, and the other gained a story he could bring up forever.
Did you once get injured with an acorn?
Yeah, yes.
It was our biggest fight.
That was yeah. We were doing a movie together called School Ties like 35 years ago, and in between takes we were just bored and we were walking across this school where we were shooting and there were acorns, and so we just started whipping them at each other.
Wow.
And he threw one at Cole and Cole moved and I turned and it literally hit me in the eye. And it's the only time in my life I've ever had didn't have time to blink, and I had to go to the hospital. Like, I literally.
Mind you, I had like 3 lines in the movie, and while I cared about Matt having vision, my first thought was, I gotta be fired for this.
What would you do if you were trapped in a bathroom at Camp David while former President Bill Clinton was standing close enough for every sound to become a potential diplomatic incident?
One of my more embarrassing moments, maybe my most embarrassing moment in my life, happened in front of President Clinton. We went to Camp David to show Good Will Hunting, and Robin Williams was there. And after the movie, I had to go to the bathroom, and so I went into this bathroom facility, and the president was the only other person in there. So I went into the stall, and I really had to go to the bathroom, and suddenly, I couldn't, and Clinton wasn't leaving because. It was like his first kind of peaceful moment of the day. So he's washing his hands, he's whistling, and this is going on. And now I'm getting, I'm getting really desperate. And I'm like, come on, you son of a bitch, And now I'm thinking, I'm getting really self-conscious. I'm like, he's actually waiting to hear if I'm gonna go.
Matt tells the story with a mixture of embarrassment and complete helplessness, as though no amount of experience as an A-list celebrity could have prepared him for a moment so painfully awkward that he wanted to disappear from American history. The funniest part is that the harder he tried to preserve his dignity, the more the story made the entire room. To make the role convincing, Matt Damon agreed to have as many as 700 hair extensions attached to his head, only for the ponytail to become the most memorable supporting character in the movie. Rather than trying to defend the look, he sits there listening to one savage tweet after another with an expression that is somehow both painful and delighted. He clearly understands that once the internet notices your hair, no performance is powerful enough to save you.
Obviously, working with you was pretty tough. That was, and so I'd been working on it for months and months, and I looked in your eyes, and that was it. Like, I got completely transported. I swear to God.
That's amazing.
And Chris said that scene, after he saw the dailies, he said that he was really excited about how it worked. And I said, that was Annie. It's like surfing a wave and you don't even have to think about it. You're just off.
I felt that way with you. It was just kind of like, it was like action, and
it was just more like the way I surf in real life. A little wobbly.
Matt Damon describes great chemistry with a co-star as being like riding the same wave. You do not have to force anything or think through every little move. Once both actors find the rhythm, everything starts flowing naturally. That ease is part of what makes his scenes feel so alive, as though the emotion is happening in the moment rather than being carefully arranged in advance.
So we adopted this cat in Costa Rica about 10 years ago. He was living by himself in the jungle. He was fighting for his life every night. And we're staying at this Airbnb, and we start feeding the cat. And we were there for a month. And so by the end, we We had to take the cat. Cut to, the cat ends up with a brain tumor. I take him to the animal hospital here, and I meet the cat neurologist. This is true. The dude's name is Chad. I could load him up on steroids. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, I mean, I could give him like a bunch of steroids. And I go, are there long-term issues with that? And he goes, yeah. Massive long-term issues with that. But like, we can just see what happens. That was 2.5 years ago. He's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's like, good morning. He's like got muscles on muscles, you know what I mean? He looks great. He looks great. So that was my cat story, sorry.
Oh, that's lovely. That's nice.
Still with us.
Matt Damon has a very specific way of telling stories. He begins as though he's about to share something genuinely touching, and then, within a few seconds, sends the whole thing in a direction nobody could possibly have predicted. With Matt, even a story about a cat can turn into a bizarre but oddly charming fantasy that leaves the entire room with no choice but to laugh along.
So was that at school? Is this when you? Because you were at school with Ben Affleck.
Yes, yeah.
And that's when your connection started. Was back
before the Oscars, production companies, and million-dollar meetings. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck used to hold business lunches, even though they had absolutely no business to discuss. They would simply sit there eating and talking like two future Hollywood power players. And the funniest part is that years later, the imaginary plan somehow became real. Which Matt Damon moment made you laugh the hardest? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed seeing the funnier, more unfiltered side of one of Hollywood's biggest stars, hit like, subscribe to Clip Fame, and turn on notifications so you never miss more unforgettable celebrity moments.